All right, it's parallel frequencies. I am just Blane, and on the other frequency is Coco over there. What's up, Coco?
Coco, right here.
Chilling.
Just ready in my cozy winter sweatshirt, ready for snow that's not coming.
It's not coming, but it's cold. It did get cold finally. So there's that at least. What have you been watching as you've been holed up cold with your cozy sweater on?
Oh, I like to go through all my rewatches of some old shows that I love, and then I've been really enjoying some of the stuff that we're getting ready to cover on this show. So I won't tease too much, but some of the movies we've been getting ready for, some of the theme of romantic or couples that we're getting ready for February. I'm really excited.
You know what? That's something we're going to mention right now to the freaks out there. We've got freaks. They're growing. I love it. But we're going to start giving you a heads up of what we're going to cover down the road so that you don't get spoiled, so that you can go watch it with us beforehand. And then when we're talking about it, it'll be fresh on your mind as well. So we're going to try to, give you preparation, give you something in advance so you can just hang out with us. And you don't have to stop the episode down and pause it and go watch what we're talking about, because
you'll be like, what's going on this weekend? What's on the lineup? What am I going to be ready to go sit cozy with just Blane and Coco and discuss? That's what my family loves to do. When we get together, we're like, what's everybody been watching? We're like, cozy up. Let's talk about it. Let's get in depth.
I love that. You know what I watched? I took it upon myself. Remember last week when we did the breakdown of Good Boy and Andy the dog that won the award at the Astra Film Festival and maybe some South by Southwest stuff. And, I was irritated. And then we literally stopped the show down and went and watched the movie and then came back and talked about it. By the way, if you want to see any of these things that we talk about at Parallel Frequencies Daily, that's the YouTube channel. Go subscribe. So we watched the movie and we broke down Good Boy, and I came to my senses. I was like, all right, maybe this dog,
pretty good.
Maybe he was good.
Pretty good, yeah.
Got me a little extra time over the weekend, let's say, and we didn't talk about this until now, but I went back and watched Black Phone. Is it Black Phone, I believe? Mm-hmm. And Black Phone 2?
Yeah.
With Ethan Hawke, who was nominated. No. Let me tell you, no way in hell should this dog have beat Ethan Hawke out for his Black Phone acting. It gets even worse though, Coco. Let me tell you this. I went and watched Together, and that's the flick with Allison Brie and Franco. Is it? It's not James.
Franco. Dave. Yeah.
Dave Franco, which Allison and Dave are married in real life. So it made this movie feel even, it was even more realistic to me.
Yes. Get ready, viewers, because Together is coming up on our lineup. So you guys are going to want to watch that ahead of time. Yeah.
Absolutely. But let me tell you, I cannot get over the fact now that Allison Brie lost to the dog. And before the internet grabs their pitchforks, relax. I'm talking about story logic, not real dogs. We love dogs here. Dogs are saints, Mm-hmm. But narratively, emotionally, spiritually, she went through the fucking ringer. She suffered, she adapted, she made choices that cost her something. It was cinema's real currency, It was emotion, and it was portrayed. Andy the dog, he was adorable. He's a good boy, but audiences like Coco, this move. Like, horror movies do this all the time where you confuse likability with deserving of the ending or deserving of the award,
Right.
And this is one of those chances. These two shouldn't even have been compared on the same frequency. Allison Brie was operating on a whole other level, and she didn't even get this award. So,
yeah. Well, we're going to have to break that down a whole lot more when we get to that movie, because I need to see these performances. I need to break them down. I need to judge for myself. But I will say, as I said when we talked about Good Boy, I'm not so sure it was the dog's acting that was deserving of the award. so much as it was the director and the editor that deserved an award for piecing together this dog's looks and reactions to things and then placing it just right in the movie to give us, the audience, a reaction, right? This was like prime editing, I think.
So my wife and I, Lindsay, we were sitting at dinner the other night and we talk about this kind of stuff. And I said, I'm sitting there between bites and I say, did you know a damn dog won an acting award? And she's like, she's a very logical person. She'll think about stuff. And she's got the creative side too. But she was like, the dog won the award? Shouldn't the trainer have won the award? And I'm like, well, there's a different take. And that goes back to the director. She didn't know that he owned the dog and all that. But yeah.
It was the director's dog, of course. Yeah. Gotta say, I think that was his award, actually.
Well, let me tell you this. It wasn't neither one of them's damn award because Alison Brie should have that on a trophy case in her house right now for her just incredible performance in Together. And let me tell you too, Together, I'm going to tease this right now because we are going to talk about this because that whole movie is almost a new type of horror. It's a new genre and it's not the grief one that we see from A24. It's something else. And it was fun. And I'm like, all right, yeah, this is something here. We got to get to that. So put that on our list. Make sure if you're a freak out there, go watch Together. It's on Hulu, Disney, whatever they want to call it now. I think it's all under one umbrella. But
yeah,
it's there. It's there.
Okay. So we got to do deep dives into these horror movies or romantic movies, or we're going to do some rom-com stuff that's going to be real thematic in February with the romantic Valentine's Day and all of that. Which I think the show we're going to talk about today is a perfect kickoff to that idea. I don't know how you feel about it, but this is masculine and feminine, the battle of the sexes, and women are from Venus, men are from Mars mentality at its max, I think. Going back nostalgically to the 90s.
Oh, absolutely. And the show we're talking about is Home Improvement. And I know that most of you out there just heard Tim Allen's grunt in your head, but that sound lives rent-free in American culture, like a dial tone for the 90s, you know, like that sound. That was masculine already. It was like, you knew from the beginning, even the intro to the show had this sound in it. And you're like, oh, I know what this show is. I know what this is going to be. I love this show, but it's very similar to one of my other favorites, Coach, and Hayden Fox being the alpha male, but still being stricken down every second his ego gets out of check. And that's really what Home Improvement is. It's Tim Allen with this ego, but he is not
keeping
ego
it in.
worthy.
Yeah. It was interesting growing up watching this show because it was, again, like a must see. Every week we were watching it. Obviously my generation being the age that the kids were at in this show. So a lot of us young girls watched it for Jonathan Taylor Thomas. I'm not going to lie. We all had his poster on our walls. Love Jonathan Taylor Thomas. But it was hard for me. And I have kind of a love-hate relationship with this show because watching it as a young girl, I didn't have brothers. And I didn't grow up with a real traditionally masculine dad. My dad was more into theater. He worked in his career. He worked with a lot of women. My dad's not the type to go around the house with power tools, fixing stuff or working on cars or knowing really anything more than how to change his oil and check the oil and replace the windshield. Juice. Windshield juice? Is that what it's called? Anyway, that wasn't an example of manly men, right? So Tim Allen to me was a little bit, it was hard to see that. It was hard as a young girl to be like, is this what husbands are like? Is this what I want to marry when I'm older? And I ask myself that a lot when I watched this show. It was a question in my mind. I'm not the only one. So ladies, help me out here. What was this show to you as a kid, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this show still echoes now, but it's because home improvement wasn't really about, the tools. It was about identity anxiety. Tim Taylor, he wasn't fixing houses. He was fixing his ego loudly, repeatedly, and poorly. Like I mentioned earlier, and somehow that made him relatable. Because who hasn't overcorrected when feeling insecure in some moment like that? And he does that. And that's understood masculinity, That's basically what it is. Let men be flawed without making them the villains, because Tim Taylor was never looked at really as a villain in the show. He was always
a lovable idiot, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that's what it was. And he was confidence as cosplay, he had a big voice, but he made bigger mistakes. And every explosion, every whatever happened around him that happened on Tool Time, it felt like a metaphor for unchecked pride in Tim. And that's what it was, So this show was deeper.
Jill, his wife, Patricia Richardson playing Jill, I don't think anyone could have done it as well. She stood up as a strong woman in the show. And little did I know that I would be watching my future when I watched this show as a young girl, thinking, oh my gosh, what is it like for her to be the only woman in a house full of these boys, right? Like boys, and having comments, which I remember to this day. I remember watching it and thinking comments like, at one point, Tim says to her, well, the garage is my area. This is where I do whatever. And, you have the kitchen. That's your area. And I think my feminist self was born the day I heard that statement on TV, as I was like, wait, what? What did he just say? There's no way that's true. I couldn't possibly live a future that looked like that. And Jill was not having it, right? She was like, oh, really?
Exactly.
She pushed him.
And that's what I was going to say, is that's totally by design. It wasn't Tim be this macho man and Jill cower. She was the emotional architect of the house. She held the boundaries, asked questions, evolved over the seasons.
Yeah.
She didn't exist to fix Tim. She wanted to be there to challenge him. And she did. That's the very yin and yang of kind of what we hadn't seen in sitcoms up until this point, other than maybe, Cheers had the strong woman lead. But they had the strong woman lead too. So this was the time when it started to change, and it wasn't just women being walked over, because Jill went back to school. That was a radical thought in the 90s.
She's like, I've raised the kids and I'm on, now it's time for me. And I do appreciate that being an introduction to the idea of there's a difference between toxic masculinity and healthy masculinity. And that was shown for the first time. I mean, I still say there's a little bit too much of a divide, but it was at least the beginning of the conversation that led to where we are now. And in our society now, we can say, well, maybe it's not so much this is masculine and this is feminine, but there is much more gray area than we realized before. And I appreciate that. As a young girl, there were times watching this show where I was uncomfortable with the divide, because it actually made me decide that feminine things in a man's eye were seen as less than. That it was only acceptable to be accepted with men if we became more like them. So, for example, the girls in the show who would show that they had knowledge about cars and tools and construction and things like that, they were acceptable. But if you were too girly in any way or too feminine in any way, that was rejected. And that was just kind of the culture we lived with in the 90s, to be honest.
It is. And Patricia Richardson is a model mom, really. Things aren't perfect, but she still stood her ground and made it a bigger role. She modeled how to grow without abandoning the compassion for the family. Like going to school, but she was still there cooking, cleaning, doing everything that, Tim, as a masculine man, expected her to do, but she got it done without
Yeah.
throwing
Oh,
anything away.
she encouraged him. She was like, I'm not doing this all on my own. I don't raise the boys on my own. I don't cook and clean on my own. You saw Tim cooking and cleaning in many episodes. He was making dinner. He was picking up the boys from school when she went back to work early in seasons. I think it was season 2. She actually started working at a newspaper. And she was like, hey, I'm just going to be working like 1 week at a time. So it's not a full-time gig, but I'm so excited to be doing something that's my own again. You're going to have to take the boys to school. You're going to have to be here when they come home. And he stepped in and he did his part, and he messed it all up, as is the formula of this show. Didn't always do it right, but she expected him to. She expected him to come home, to do the stuff that she was doing too. And I think that showed real shift in our mentality of like domestic chores are just a woman's job and this part is just for men. And that, again, really strong line. It was like, we're going to blur these lines a little bit here. And I love that they showed that. I love that they introduced that. I love that Jill was like, there's no question here. This is what's happening. This is where you're needed and you're going to do your part. And he was like, great, I'm here to support you. I'm so glad you've got this job. I'm the supportive husband, working a paycheck and doing domestic labor. I'm good with all of it.
Yeah, you never heard him really complain.
Mm-mm.
I mean, in his own way he did, but not like a...
But when he did, he got backlash, negative. Right? Like it always backfired. Yeah.
Pushback. Jill gave him pushback. Patricia Richardson is a powerhouse, even in real life. And if you stick around till when we're done with this, we're going to air an interview that we got with Patricia Richardson. Nobody's ever seen this. And we did it with Promise to Live, at FanX and all that stuff. And we've also got an interview with Richard Carnes, Al, who we'll talk about briefly. And then we had one more, Debbie Dunning, who I absolutely adore. Thought she was incredible.
Amazing?
Yeah.
I mean,
but we're
all
gonna
three
air
of
those
them
when
were
we get
probably
done.
my favorite, probably some of my favorite interviews of the whole day that we spent meeting people. And honestly, Patricia just being so generous with her time and chatting with us about her 3 boys. She raised 3 boys off set as well as on set at Home Improvement. And like I said, it was a little peek into my future because now I'm the mom raising 3 boys at my own house. Little did I know what I was peeking into my future a little bit here. And I'm learning the language of boys and it's fine. But you know what I want to say is the times when Tim messed up in his life where he was again, like his ego and his pride stepped in the way, or maybe that toxic masculinity crept in. You know who's always there to show healthy masculine energy was Wilson, right?
That's the glue of the show. That's my favorite character from this show. One of my favorite characters from any sitcom or any show. Half his face was shown, but he always gave the full perspective,
Yeah.
And if you really look at it, he never told Tim what to do. He would reframe how Tim saw the problem. Yeah. And that's something that all of us can use. That's therapy energy before therapy was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Where men may not have been running to do therapy, or, back then there was still quite a large stigma about using therapy or anything like that. But you could go talk to your neighbor. And in preparation for me raising boys, I read the book Boys and Sex by Peggy Ornstein. And I highly recommend it because it talks a lot about boy culture, growing up as a boy and what that is like. And she talks about emotional intelligence among boys in society, and that one of the things that hinders growth as a society is that men can't talk to each other vulnerably or emotionally. They don't feel safe in those environments. And so women often hold the weight of emotional security for men in our society. So it's like they won't go to therapy. And maybe there's a stigma. It doesn't seem masculine to go and like ask for help or to be emotional, but they definitely can go to a woman and talk, a mother, a sister, a girlfriend. They go to women and talk about their emotions. And I loved how in that book she kind of presented it as, we need more men who can go to other men. We need more circles of men who can support each other. So one of my favorite things about this show was that Tim always felt safe to talk to Wilson. Wilson was his man support, emotional place he could go. And Wilson modeled that really well for our upcoming society, hopefully coming out of the 90s into these modern times.
Wilson, you know what? It's really too bad that we lost Earl Hyman, because that's the real name of Wilson. But it's really too bad we lost him when we did, because he would have had a hell of a podcast. Could you imagine?
Can you imagine?
Let's think for a minute. It could be the other side of the fence with Wilson. You know, like something like that would have been.
The whole thing is done behind a fence.
Listen to that. Oh man, I think that would be a great idea for him. And honestly, Wilson walked so podcasts could run. I think he was the originator of this format. This talk to somebody, don't tell them what to do, reframe the problem for them, let them see it in their own perspective. He was great at being able to be in someone else's shoes and help them through. Because he did it with Jill too. He did it with the boys. He did it with all of them, you know, at some point. But yeah, he would have had a hell of a podcast. Another person that had great masculine energy was Al.
Yes.
You know, he wasn't afraid
Al.
to get in touch with it. He was not afraid to get in touch with his feminine side and didn't feel ashamed about it. It was like, whatever. What are you going to do, Tim? I can still do your job better than you.
Right. He had all the abilities, all of the skills. He knew what he was doing in that accepted masculine realm of like cars and construction and fix-it things and all the things I don't know anything about, clearly. But he was soft. He was not afraid to be soft. He was not afraid to be emotional. He was not afraid to be spiritual. He had, at one point, Dan Aykroyd played his, did a cameo and played his pastor, I think, in his church. And he was like, you know, my favorite guy. Showing that, you know, he loved his mother. He got teased for it. Obviously, Tim, you know, wanted to act like he was a pansy, or he was, again, those feminine traits were not at the time seen as equal to masculine traits. So they were often made to feel like less than. So I'm glad that this show showcased that relationship between Tim and Al, and that Tim ended up looking more and more like the idiot for it. The bully for making fun of what was actually a great quality in Al.
Yeah, and I think that goes to show the whole show overall, the Trojan horse here. The laughter and everything really hid the lessons that they were sneaking in. And that's the genius of a sitcom done right. You think you're watching jokes, but you're actually absorbing like human values, you know, and that's what we see here. We see a lot of that, and Al was the catalyst for a lot of that stuff. You know, it could have went a different way, but it was like, nah, here's Al, who is just a genuinely good human being. How do you knock him if he wants to cry? You can't. Like, that's the thing, you know, and it made it okay. It really did. It made it okay. I love Richard Karn.
He made him seem like a loser, but actually Al was quite popular with the ladies. He was very well liked by audiences who watched Home Improvement and by the fictional audience of Tool Time. It showed that throughout the series.
Which is wild. That's still, side note, that's still one of my favorite things in TV is when you've got a show inside of a show. And that's just always been so cool to me to I don't know what wall that would be. Is that a fifth wall, a sixth wall? Or do you count it back and go, oh, that's only the second wall? I don't know.
Right.
But it's cool. It's a cool concept when they do stuff like that. Home Improvement pulled it off. Tool Time was just as big as Home Improvement. I mean, there was Tool Time merch.
Yeah.
You know? That's crazy. That's fun.
Yeah, and often I think they get mixed up for each other. I know that anytime my husband references the show, he's like, Tool Time? And I'm like, it was called Home Improvement. Tool Time was the show in the show. But it's fine. Just get it mixed up.
The grunt is what will always be. Oh, let me tell you a crazy story. So I live in Hollywood, And on Sunset Boulevard, there's the comedy clubs. And I go in one night, it's Tim Allen doing his stand-up. And before he comes on, I go hit the bathroom and, I come out and Tim's standing there just waiting to be called up on stage. And I just kind of, leaned over to him and I said something along the lines of, I really appreciate Home Improvement and what you gave us. And and I don't want to bother him too much because I know he's in his zone. He's getting ready to take the stage, but he leans over and he leans over like this into me and he goes, and he gave me 2 grunts. and I loved it. I was like, that's awesome. That's all I needed. But he was telling me thank you. And he gave me 2 grunts as a thank you.
That's pretty special. That's pretty special. I gotta say, like, I'd be blushing. I would be like, okay, we need to come up with a feminine version of it so there can be, like it's okay to be, we all are a little sometimes, and sometimes we're a little, I don't know what
maybe it's the wolf howl. It could be the wolf howl that you.
Women that run with wolves. Yes. Women that howl and women that run with the wolves.
We won't talk too much about the kids in here, but that they were a crucial part of it as well. Brad was chasing approval, Randy questioned everything, and Mark was being beautifully weird.
Yep. He really fit into his own by the end of the series, became kind of the artist, representation of the tortured artist or the tortured soul, which I love. And we all who loved Jonathan Taylor Thomas, we loved him even more as Randy because Randy ended up being this incredibly compassionate, volunteering his time. He left the show earlier than the show ended because his character, Randy, was going to Costa Rica to volunteer. And, we know that on the back end of it, it was Jonathan Taylor Thomas was no longer wanting to continue to be with the show full time, which is fine, but it made us love his character, Randy. One of my favorite episodes was when he volunteered at a hospice and he got to know this elderly woman and he was really excited every day to go and talk to her and make her life better. And honestly, that kind of representation of a heartthrob is way more attractive to most of us ladies than just being a good-looking kid. I honestly was much more attracted to Jonathan Taylor Thomas than I was to Zachary or Brad. Brad's a good-looking kid, but he was that jock type, he was kind of a bully to Mark. He always kind of stayed in this realm of being like, and not as attractive to us ladies. So if guys are wondering what attracts the ladies, it's compassion and soft-heartedness. We like it.
Yeah. What was crazy too was this show aged with the kids, and that's kind of rare because they either usually get written out or replaced or something, but this one kept the same actors all the way through, and it let them be sensitive, sarcastic, or unsure without punishment. They didn't get in trouble for not knowing something or asking something or wanting to figure out, and I love that what you said about Mark, Randy, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, Randy doing all that stuff, because there was another sitcom doing that with Eric on Boy Meets World. He was doing all the compassionate stuff and doing Secret Santa stuff and taking in orphans and there was a lot of that going on, and it gave a good representation and it gave a good mirror for somebody to look at and say, you know what, I can be like Eric, I can be like Randy, I can go to Costa Rica and serve people, whatever it was, and it did make it okay. Yeah. This show though, it was overall. I'll just give my final thoughts before we throw to these interviews that we got to do. But Home Improvement it's a time capsule to pre-internet masculinity, pre-social media validation. Problems stayed in the house. They weren't on their phones. There was nothing going on that was what we look at and see today. Consequences were more personal, and There's something grounding about this show when you watch it now. There's something that grounds you as an adult watching it. It hits different.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. What do you think? What's your final thoughts on
a lot
Home
more
Improvement?
appreciation for it now as an adult, looking back at all the episodes, and especially because now I'm a mom of 3 boys, that really does kind of hit more close to home. As far as what kind of a mom do I want to be? And I think that my final thoughts are summed up in season 6, episode 23, called "The Feminine Mistake." You know how Tim Taylor always got it wrong when he was quoting back something. His wife, Jill, had wanted him to read The Feminine Mystique, right? The feminist book. And he called it The Feminine Mistake. But he's talking to Brad because Brad's got this girlfriend who is now waiting on him hand and foot, making sandwiches for him, doing his laundry. And it really bothers Jill. And she's questioning her own parenthood. Like, did I do something wrong here? I was supposed to show strong women, and women are not slaves and do not exist to serve us. And my son is treating his girlfriend like this. I must have messed up somewhere along the way. And she has to push Tim. And, that makes me so uncomfortable as a mom and a wife. I'm like, I don't want my boys to learn something because I pushed them into it. I want them to naturally see it as an example, and want my husband to be that example for them. So at first, in the beginning, like every formula of every episode, she's pushing him to talk to Brad. Like, this isn't right? Like all of our boys, all 3, think this is amazing, that Brad's really got something lucky going on here, that he's got a girl to wait on him hand and foot. And you got to do something. This matters. Tim's like, why does it matter? Who cares? What's the big deal? And she's like, it matters. She pushes him, and she's really feeling depressed about it. I was too. Watching the episode, I was like, where did we go wrong, Jill? Where did we go wrong with these boys? And then Tim sees it with his own eyes. He sees what's going on with Brad and his girlfriend, and he pulls Brad into the garage, and he's like, what are you doing? And Brad's like, well, not everybody wants to have a girl like Mom. Like, you're just mad because you got a wife like Mom who challenges you and pushes you. And Tim says, I'm glad I married a strong woman. I am happy with your mom. I wouldn't want somebody that just serves me. That's not what a relationship is. That's not equality. You want equality with your partner. And has this great speech with Brad all on his own not all on his own. Let's be honest. Jill had to have that conversation earlier in the episode, as is usual for this show. But I loved that at the end, he came around to it on his own and said, you got to do something. This isn't right. And Brad goes in there and says, I'll make my own sandwich. And you shouldn't be doing that for me. I wouldn't want you to feel like you have to do that for me.
Yeah.
And I just think that my thoughts about the show and like how I feel about where we've taken this show into our culture now, that episode feels to me like a big win.
That's a very uncomfortable episode to watch. Home Improvement was not afraid to shy away from uncomfortable moments.
Yes.
Hidden behind the slapstick comedy. Let's get into, though, the Promise to Live 988. First of all, that's the number to dial if you need to talk to somebody. 988. Because Promise to Live is a suicide prevention awareness organization led by Brandy Vega. Me and Coco get the privilege to kind of work with them. It's a privilege more than anything.
Absolutely.
And
happy to do it.
We get an even bigger privilege to be able to get crazy access to just about any celebrity that we want when we go to FanX and stuff like that. So right now, what we're going to do is throw 3 interviews. We'll play them back to back to back. And it's with some of the biggest stars of Home Improvement. Debbie Dunning, Richard Carnes, and Patricia Richardson. We talked to all of them. Patricia gave us a crazy amount of time, energy, effort, and an incredible interview. But we'll play those for you now and hope you enjoy them. And we'll see you right here on the other side. All right, we were here with Debbie Dunning, Heidi. For those of you that didn't catch, we were talking about it behind the scenes. And yes, it's Heidi, right?
Yes, it's Heidi.
You look like you stepped right out of the 90s here. Haven't aged a bit.
Thank you. Well, I have a daughter who's my age when I was on the show.
What?
Yeah.
No,
She
wait.
didn't know.
No, wait a minute. Now,
I
if
don't
they
believe
had
it.
to, if they reboot Home Improvement, would she be the new?
Tool Time Group?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really think that's her
No,
bag.
no. She can step right in. She's ready. Look at her. She can
I
step
think,
right in.
Yeah, I think she can step. But look at this. I got a
That's
script
cute.
right here.
Yeah, these are some of the old scripts. These are the from the 90s. We were on 91 to 99.
Oh, believe me, I know. I've seen every episode at least, I don't know, 5,
Yeah.
6 dozen times. I love the show. I love Tim. I love Richard Corner,
Everybody's
Al,
here.
Patricia, all of them. They're going to be here at FanX.
Yeah, we're going to be here for the next 3 days. They're coming in late tonight. They both had other jobs, but they'll be here for Friday and Saturday.
Now, what are you guys working on? I know you're working on something big right now. What do you got coming up?
Well, we're very excited. We had the three of us, Richard, Patricia, and myself, do a guest cameo on Tim Allen's new show, Shifting Gears.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be his first show of the second season on ABC,
When is that, October?
October 1st. Yeah.
Ooh, so we'll have to get this out right now so people know about that.
Yeah, I definitely want you guys to tune in. You can always find it on my Instagram, too, which is just Debbie Dunning.
Oh, you got that.
Yeah,
We're following
easy.
that. Yeah. We're here with messages of healing
Yep.
for an organization, Promise to Live.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd like to get messages from people that have messages for their fans about getting them to make that promise. And when they're struggling or when suicide is a topic, what would you have to say to your fans as a message of hope?
When it comes to suicide, it's such a tough, fragile moment in someone's life where they get to that point or just that second they decide to actually do it. And that stuff can be prevented. And if you see that in somebody, it doesn't take much to reach out to say, are you okay? Is there something I can do? Maybe say if you talk to somebody, because a lot of people might see it and don't say anything and not prevent it.
Right, right.
I lost my brother to suicide.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I feel like it was one day away from another good day, but every once in a while he would have a bad one. That close.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, so it's get involved, say something. Don't regret not reaching out. That would be my advice.
That's
thank you
that's
for
usually the
being
biggest thing that we
so
hear
brave.
is I regret it, and
Yep.
you said it all. It's like, are you okay? That's a lot of times it's as simple as asking, are you okay?
Yeah, it happened to somebody else very, very close to me. And so I decided to hit it on the head and talk to him about it. And I didn't know what to do. And I talked to another friend, and he said, put out a mass text or an email, get every single one of his friends on it and tell them what you're feeling. And I'll tell you what, the next day, those boys were at his house and they helped him and they prevented it, and now he's thriving.
Absolutely.
That's a
I
great
love that.
story.
So you always got people around you.
You do have people around you, but at that moment, that fragile moment where you decide to actually go through with it, that was just one moment that broke the camel's back. It could have been a phone call. It could have been someone stopping by. It could have been someone just giving that person a hug and saying, I see, something's up. But so many people are afraid to open up and let that type of feeling in. They're like, I don't want to be responsible. That guy's obviously going through something. And then you lose them.
Yeah. And that's why Promise to Live, they really encourage people to make that promise when they're feeling good,
Yeah.
when they're in a moment, because it really helps them to get through those times. So would you make the promise to live?
Oh, I'm always definitely going to make a promise to live.
Good.
I have too much to live for. I
We
have
have
a great
this-
life.
Yeah.
This little coin as
Okay.
a memory
Thank
of that
you.
promise that you made.
Thank you. And I'm going to give you a hug for that because that is fantastic. Very special.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank
Story and being vulnerable
Hey, we
with
all
us.
have a story.
We
Yeah.
do.
We all have a story. You just never know until you start peeling back those pages.
We're going to give you a couple extra of those coins that you can give out people. If you see somebody you think, you know what, they need a coin, give them,
I would
give them a
love
hug.
that.
Give them a
We'll
hug.
have that.
Yeah.
And if you are out there struggling, there is a suicide prevention line that you can reach out to. It's everywhere. You just pick it up and make a phone call.
988.
988.
Thanks to our buddy Logic out there, the rapper Logic,
Yeah.
who put the suicide prevention number out, the song, and I've talked to him about that.
Yep.
He got a letter from Congress that said thank you for doing that because now we've shortened it to 988.
It's truly so easy. Even if you think there's nothing else and you call and you just talk to somebody for a moment, it might save your life.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
That's incredible. Thank you so much.
All right, we're with Richard Karn here, better known as Al Borland. Am I right?
Well, yes. I don't know if I'm better known, but
Well,
that was my nom de
I don't
plume.
think so, Al.
no, you don't think so?
I think you're very well known.
You are very well known. You are recognizable. And
You know, I did Family Feud,
I do know that.
and that's when people started calling me Richard.
No way. How was that?
That was fun. A different kind of fun.
What do they call you here? A lot of things.
A lot of things. Tim,
Oh,
Al.
What do you say? I don't think so too.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Man, we're here with Promise to Live, suicide prevention. There's people out there that need to hear a message of hope. You guys got a platform. You've got a platform.
I
What
know.
would you say to people?
Well, hope is a delicate thing, you know, because sometimes it just slips away and you can't see the other side of that coin or of that mountain. And it's there. You just have to find people to be around you that are positive.
And make it over that hump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're
Man.
telling people to make that promise to live when they're feeling good because it helps them get through those hard times. Would you make the promise to live today?
I've made the promise to live for years. For years, and I'm old.
You don't
get
look
this
like-
little pocket hug that lets you know that you made that promise, and giving that promise. Everybody go to promisetolive.org and make that promise.
I promise.
We appreciate you. Thank you so much. And thank you for the memories. Seriously, thank you for the memories. That show, Home Improvement, you got to think about how many iconic characters were on there.
I know.
And you're one of them, and you're at the top. I love it, man.
Well,
thank you so
thank
much. I'm serious. I really respect what you've done. Thank you for the work.
Thanks for seeing us today.
You're welcome. Thank you. Did you see that? We're with Patricia Richardson, Jill Taylor. Now you
Feminist icon.
had what? Brad, Randy, Mark.
I had Brad, Randy, and Mark. And
You-
in life, I had Joe, Henry, and Roxy. Henry is the oldest. He's now almost 40. The twins were born 3 months before I started Home Improvement. So they were on the set with me every day for 3 years.
So not only were you raising those kids on set, off set, in real life, you had us at home. You were a sit mom to me.
Well, people tell me that, but I'm not as aware of that as I was of trying to parent my own kids. You know, Tim and I tried not to parent those kids because they had parents, and that could get dicey. But it was hard not to.
Yeah.
You know, it was like I'm still doing
They're
it.
like your boys.
They
right?
laugh about me still doing it.
Yeah.
I just did. I saw Taryn, and Taryn, who works for SpaceX, has hair down to here, super thick, big hair out down here, and he was doing this amazing interview with some friends of his that had a talk show or something, and he was so great, so smart, and he said such an interesting life, and so at the end of it, I talked to him later after it, and I was like, I don't know, Taryn, I think the hair's got to go.
Oh no.
Gotta go, Taryn. And he's like, you're momming me again.
You can mom us. You can mom me. Do I need to cut my hair?
No,
Okay.
your hair.
Okay.
You have to see Taryn. It's just.
Okay.
My son is Joe Castle Baker, who's a very well-known gay stand-up comedian and actor, and so he's doing all. But I was just telling them that he did the suicide hotline in New York for probably 2 or 3 years,
Wow.
and at that point he was just kind of, maybe I'll go into psychology instead. Now, after all these years of doing what he's doing, I think he's going to go back. So this year he's going to start looking for some labs to do. He's going to have to go back and get a master's, and
Wow.
it's going to be a lot of
Jill
school.
was doing on the show? Wasn't she going to school?
My
for
character,
psychology?
went back to school, but not to be. This is a lot of school. I mean,
Yeah.
the way I did it was just to be like that little degree, go a couple of years. He's probably going to end up needing to go like 5 years.
Yeah.
It's been a
That's
really long time
amazing.
since he was in undergraduate school. So sometimes they want you to get a couple of courses from there. It's going to be a thing.
I love that.
That's
Now-
amazing. Well, we're
You know?
here for Promise to Live. It's an organization to help people be aware of making that promise to live, going to promisetolive.org. And what do you
love
think?
that.
Would you make the promise to live?
Yeah, that's really great. I love that.
Yeah, so I have a coin for you. It's a
Oh,
hug.
what
Look
is
at
this?
these. Yeah.
Yeah, we give these out. If you make the promise to live, you get a little
Awesome.
hug for
We
your
got plenty.
pocket.
We got
I
plenty
have
of them.
people. I have somebody I should give this to.
We got a lot more for
We
you.
got extra for you.
We can give you a
them
lot
out.
of these.
I have people that could use this.
I also understand that you're on Shifting Gears coming up.
Yes. Oh, yes. We put this here so people would know. But
I didn't even look at that. I didn't even see it.
But also, it'll be October 1st. It's coming right up. We're just in one scene. We're in a little scene. Surprise. It's supposed to be a surprise, but now everybody knows.
Well, Debbie dropped it the other day to us. She told us.
Well, they brought it. They're advertising it, but they snuck us in. They didn't want the audience to see us, and so it was weird that they just started telling everybody.
Icon for us young girls who wanted to see Tim be put in his place night after night after night. We loved it.
Like they told me to begin with, if I wasn't strong against him, he looked abusive with his stuff. So they had to have somebody who was really, because the first person they hired just looked like she was just abused.
Yeah.
And so when they got me to come in, I'd be like, so that it wouldn't be that.
You played the part. Now, we talked to Vicki Lawrence, and I mentioned
She's
you
here.
to Vicki.
Oh, I gotta meet her.
I said that she was one of the original sitcom mamas, and that I said, there's another powerhouse sitcom, I mentioned you, and she said, oh, you were a better mother than her. She was too crazy.
Oh, I love her. I love her. She was so funny. I'm seeing all these people. Matthew Modine, I know really well, and I think he just didn't turn up. His table's still empty. Maybe tomorrow? I don't know.
I don't know. It's weird, huh?
That's weird.
Thank you so much, Patricia. Thank you. Richard, Patricia, Debbie, hearts right there from me and Coco. Thank you so much for the time. I can't really, I really did love that, and can't wait to meet back up with them. Remember, Home Improvement, it was not necessarily that more power and the louder the tools was the better. It was the quieter and the better you could listen was the lesson there for you. So until next time, we'll catch you on the next frequency. Stay curious, stay kind, grunt every once in a while, and maybe don't add more power than the system can handle. Parallel frequencies. We'll see you next time.